Hi, welcome back to my channel. I have another formula to share today. I did wish I had some, more useful content, but I'm very busy at the moment, and I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm not giving a lot of attention to YouTube, but it's kind of a sacrifice that I have to make at the moment. Trying to get my business going, moving house with my family, packing all our stuff up, all of the different dynamics, the family dynamics that go along with all those, massive changes in life, juggling everything, yeah, it doesn't leave much room for making videos. I just don't have the time at the moment, but I have been trying to at least just, share a formula or something just to give a little bit of inspiration. So, don't go away. I am coming back, and I'm going to do my best to put out a lot more content, but I really need to get my business set up. I really need to do all of the renovating involved with that, and also with the house that I'll be living in with my family. Lots of big changes happening in my life at the moment, all require a lot of attention and a lot of energy, physical, mental, emotional. So, I'm just stretched at the moment, and YouTube is the thing that is suffering. But ultimately, YouTube is going to be my biggest thing, because it's literally going to carry my business. So I am going to put a lot of effort into it. So don't go away, have a little faith, and I'll be back shortly. So as you can see on the screen, we have the formula for the perfume. Now I've used perfumersworld.com once again just to display the formula to you. If you're not aware, you can go to the perfumersworld.com and you do have to start an account. It's completely free of charge. But once you do, you have the ability to write up a formula, and you can also save these within your account. For this purpose, it's a really good means of giving you the visual of the perfume formula, but sometimes I do use perfumersworld.com just to get a first idea together, a list of materials, and then I go to a more complicated piece of software and I work on my formula in tandem with doing practical experiments. So as you can see, we have the perfume that I've been talking about. This is a marine themed perfume. I have made something along the lines of this perfume before. In a previous video, I think it was a video where I had a number of different perfume formulas within it, and I shared a marine formula. Now this is based on that same perfume, however this formula has been refined. The original formula was in drops and it had less materials, and here I have just worked on the formula slightly, and I have been more methodical in my dosing, and yeah, it smells pretty good. It's smooth, like the first one. It is more feminine. It's kind of like a fruity coconut type of a smell, and obviously it has those obvious marine notes in there. And if you like that kind of thing, I mean, it's definitely something more for summer. That's kind of the time when this perfume probably would shine. But you can wear a perfume that you like anytime you want, really. But yeah, so I'm just going to share this with you. So if we just start at the top, because I don't think these are in any particular order. They're definitely not in the order of, base, mid, top, or top, base, mid. I think they're in alphabetical order. I might be wrong. Let's just start at the top. So I've got Labdanum Absolute, and that's in a 10% dilution. And well, first of all, why don't we go down to here? So the total is 100.2. Let's just round that off to 100 before we begin. So yeah, as you can see, this totals 100 grams, but we want to make something a bit less, don't we? So in here, um, so if we make 2 grams, and that should be enough for making little experiments. And if you did like it and you wanted to make a larger bottle, let's say 30 milliliter bottle, you would just times the formula by 3, give yourself 6 grams, and that would give you a 20% concentration in a 30 milliliter bottle. So we'll put in 2 grams. Now in this column, this is where we've got the 2 grams. So everything in this column amounts to 2 grams. Here we have cis-3 hexanyl acetate. Now, because we've scaled this down to 2 grams, it's kind of taken cis-3 hexanyl acetate out of the game because we were already adding just a minute amount of it. Is this a problem? Not really. You could just add 0.010 grams. However, that is what. Let's see. Can we go? Oh, sorry. Yes. So actually, we've got 0.10 grams, so 0.100 grams in the formula, which adds up to 100. I guess you could just go with 0.010 grams. I don't think it will do any harm in this perfume at all. And to be perfectly honest, I think that's all I did, because I do tend to just make 2 grams of everything myself. But let me just check for a second, because I do have the paper version of this formula in front of me. Cis-3 hexanyl acetate. So actually I made 4 grams, and at 4 grams it is 0.01 grams. Let's just type in 4, make sure we have the same data before we go on. So no, so it still says 0.00 grams. So yeah, if you're going to make 2 grams, now cis-3 hexanyl acetate is a very strong material. So I made it at I made 4 grams, and at 4 grams it smells great. So let's just make 4 grams instead of 2, and where it says cis-3 hexanyl acetate, we will be adding 0.010 grams. So let's just go back up to the top, and let's once again start with Labdanum Absolute. That's in a 10% dilution, and I added 1.37 grams of Labdanum Absolute in a 10% dilution. Now, if you've got Labdanum Absolute 100%, obviously you would just sort of change how much you're adding. I just have Labdanum Absolute in a 10% dilution, so I would add a lot less if it was Labdanum, obviously. But I guess it's not that common to buy Labdanum Absolute in a 10% dilution, but I have. So that's why I'm adding so much of Labdanum Absolute. I also added Tonalide in a 10% dilution. Tonalide is a musk, and I added 0.79 grams, or you'll probably be working with one more decimal place, so 0.790 grams. I added some oak moss resinoid. This is the IFRA low atronol. So it's had most of the atronol taken out, and atronol is the thing which gives people skin sensitivities. So I've used that in a 10% dilution, and I've used 0.480 grams of that. Now you can only really use it in a 10% dilution, and even then you can't use very much of the stuff. So it is quite tricky to use these materials now if you're using oak moss resinoid or oak moss absolute. You don't really have the ability to use a lot of it. I also added some ethyl safranate at 10%. Ethyl safranate smells like green apples, and I added 0.290 grams of ethyl safranate. I also added some isomuscone. Now, it doesn't say that it's in dilution here, but actually it's in dilution. They just don't sell it in dilution, so I couldn't select a 10% dilution. But I have used it in a 10% dilution, and I added 0.260 grams of isomuscone. I also added some Davana. Davana is a very fruity material, and I added 0.160 grams of that. That is in a 10% dilution also. Exaltalide pendidecanolide is another musk again, and in a 10% dilution. I added 0.150 grams of that, so we've got 3 musks in there. I added 0.090 grams of Iso E Super, and I added some a substitute to Lyral, and this is basically an IFRA-friendly version of Lyral, because it's very difficult to use Lyral or indeed Lilial. So yeah, we've got 0.08 grams of that. And these Lyral substitute and the Lilial substitute, you can use a lot of this in your formula. And they do smell lovely, so you know I don't feel too bad about not being able to use Lyral or Lilial anymore. So yeah, we've added 0.08 grams of Lyral substitute. I added 0.060 grams of Hedione. As I'm sure you're aware, Hedione, well, I was going to say it's a jasmine material, but it doesn't really have much of a smell, and it's used more for the effect that it has on the perfume. But yeah, it does have a jasmine aspect, obviously. Lilial substitute, again, just the same as the Lyral. It's an IFRA-friendly replacement for Lilial, and I added 0.05 grams. I also added some diethyl malonate, again another fruity material. I added 0.050 grams of that. I added 0.050 grams of Cephalus. Cephalus is very similar to Iso E Super. And I added 0.040 grams of seaweed fluorescence. Now, seaweed fluorescence is from the Perfumer's World, and this is a mixture of different things, which don't create the smell of seaweed. They create the smell of that marine note that we all know. As a shortcut, instead of adding separate materials like cologne or helional or melonal or anything similar, I went with the seaweed fluorescence. And why not? It's all those things are probably in there, and it's very well made, and definitely does give you that marine vibe that everybody seems to love. So yeah, I went with 0.040 grams of that. I also added in some LME essential oil, 0.030 grams. I would say that Cephalus. So Cephalus is along the lines of Iso E Super. However, it has a quite a strong LME note to it, a little character. So that's kind of why I'm using both of those things. And I use 0.02 grams of Caranol. Caranol is an amber material, ambergris. And to be honest, I hadn't used it before. It was a new material that I had purchased, so I thought, I'll try it in this formula, and it works well. There are many materials like it. There are so many different ambergris materials. They're not too much different to each other, but that they do have different qualities, and I would use them in different contexts. So I'm not saying that they're all identical, but they definitely all have the same vibe, and at the end of the day, they all create the same note. I use 0.02 grams of caraway seed. Caraway seed is such a beautiful essential oil. But you can't use that much of it. And actually, on that note, I will point out that this formula is IFRA. It's within all of the IFRA limitations. Just going back to caraway, it's a fantastic smell, and I've always loved the smell, but you really can't use very much of it. I also use 0.02 grams of methyl latone. So methyl latone is very creamy, sort of coconutty, and coumarinic. And I also, as I said, earlier, citrate hexanyl acetate, I used 0.010 grams. And that's basically the formula in a nutshell. It's slightly more complicated. There's a few more oils. As I said, I made this perfume. The general smell of this perfume I made in the past, and I shared a formula in drops. This is a version that I have refined. I have added some more things to it, made it a little bit more complex, and it's just a little bit more beautiful, softened all of the edges, that kind of thing. So, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you have enjoyed this formula, me sharing it with you. I do sometimes, when you're working on a formula, it does take a lot of time just to put it together. And then, I'm quite happy to share certain formulas online. It's not really what I want my whole channel to be about, but I do understand that it helps. It gives people some, it generates some enthusiasm. It's a spark to a flame kind of thing. It's the spark that creates a flame inside of somebody. I always found it helpful to look at different formulas that I could find online, just to see how other people constructed things together, to see how they used them and how much they added. And that, gives you a little bit of insight into, what to do with certain materials. Because, I say this often, but there just isn't enough information out there about how to make perfume. It's not easily attainable. You really have to search for it, and that search takes time. So, I enjoy sharing stuff because, it's great if we could all share just a little bit of it, and it would all help us all along our way. Because obviously I want to make a business out of this, but I don't really want to take away from the spirit of why I got into perfumery, or even the spirit of my channel, which is generally just to empower other people who want to make perfume, who might think it's too complicated, or they might think it's just beyond them, and it's not really. You just need to know where to buy your oils from. You need to know the general, I'm not going to say rules, but the etiquette and the method. And by and large, it's just all about experimentation and what you learn on your journey. And in a place like this, YouTube, it can be great because you can have conversations with other people. You can swap ideas. You can help each other along a little bit. I do think that something like this does benefit you. Because with perfumery, we're not spoiled for choice. There aren't a lot of things out there for us to hold on to learn something from, to spend some time with. It's few and far between. There's a lot of bad information out there. There's a lot of misguided information. There's a lot of people, and me included, for the most part, just, stumbling around in the dark looking for the light switch. So yeah, we're all trying to find our way, and we're all trying to, find a place where we can shine, I guess, where we can be, where we can, just make perfume and get to the apex of it all, just to really take it as far as we can take it. So I hope that this video has done a little bit of that for you. I hope that at the end of the day, I hope you just find it entertaining or interesting or informative or whatever. I just hope that you get something out of it. So that's all I've got time for today. I'm going to try and put together a couple of more videos before I actually leave, but literally it could be any day. I could wake up tomorrow and have to go ahead and be in my house the day after or 2 days after. But it's going to be quickly once I get that nod. So I might not have a lot of time to make videos, and I might not be able to set all my equipment up very quickly. And as I say, I've got a lot of renovating to do. So I'll do my best, but I'm not going to, leave YouTube, and I'm coming back to it, and I'm going to make more content. So as always, have fun making perfume, and I'll speak to you all shortly.